All right, everyone, and then there were five. Cory Booker officially announcing, yes, indeed, he's in, which surprises pretty much no one. Now, his disadvantage is that other people have already begun their campaigns, and he's sort of the last of those people who you rumored were likely to get in, other than the heavy hitters, namely Biden and Sanders, who neither of them has officially made a decision yet. I'd say Sanders, he's probably leaning towards running, which, sort of takes the wind out of the sails of a Cory Booker-style candidate. Or a Kamala Harris, who, by the way, shooting to the top of the ticket here, looks a lot like 5 or 6 different candidates that had done that in the packed Republican primaries, actually, in the last election. What happened is that someone would say or do something, they'd shoot to the top, it was a flash in the pan, they go back down. That's what I think Kamala Harris will probably be the first person. She'll peak out too early, and then she won't stay at that level because someone else will knock her off her pedestal. I don't expect Kamala Harris to be the the nominee. If she is, she loses. Bernie Sanders would fare better, and keep in mind he's a near 80-year-old socialist, so I'm not sure how well that campaign would go. Cory Booker, let's analyze his odds. I think he rubs people the wrong way as far as his personality goes. He also, I hate to say this, but he doesn't look presidential in the sense of, he just looks unnerving. And I'm not the only person who suggested that to be the case, and you've got to understand. Some people vote based solely on, platform, on ideology. They don't really care about how well spoken the person is, as long as it's not, totally terrible. They don't really care about looks or something. Looks matter within politics. The same way that elocution matters, your gesturing, the way you carry yourself, that matters. This was a problem for Kasich. Kasich's overall platform 10 years ago would have been extremely popular. He would have been seen as a centrist Republican, sort of a Bushite. It would have been fairly popular. What problem did he have? He ate like a pig in public. It's not a good idea for politicians to be seen eating unless you intend to run what people expected to be a joke campaign at first, with Trump coming out and saying, yeah, I only eat my steaks well done, and I eat pizza back, folded up like a burrito and stuff. And that was considered funny. When Kasich did it, though, here he is trying to be astute and formal, like a formal candidate, and then he looks like a pig. It doesn't work. Cory Booker literally doesn't have the look. That's his main problem. And also, he's a far leftist. Being a dedicated far leftist is going to piss off the Rust Belt voters. It can get you California, but look at the field. It's already packed with people who are on the far left. Notably, Gabbard is on the other end on some issues, and Harris on policing, certainly, which is another reason to vote against her and why she would lose. Julian Castro's far left. Gillibrand is pretty far to the left. If Warren gets in, she'd be about similar to Cory Booker in most respects. In fact, I think they've done press conferences and shit together. That's quite a few people with very similar ideologies. Now you've got to look at them and say, which one of these looks best for the cameras and is the most well-spoken? It's Julian Castro, not Cory Booker. It's Julian Castro, or Gillibrand, ultimately. Those are the two that have sort of the look, unless you're going with Gabbard, who is, crazily young, as he's 37 or 38, and has pissed them off already with regards to gay rights and some of her other views. I'm still looking at this field and I'm trying to figure out which one of these Democrats could possibly win against Donald Trump. I think the Democrats themselves are worried. They're probably trying to get someone to jump in there and be a true dark horse neoliberal candidate. The thing is, who's going to be willing to run in a packed field like that anyway? And Trump's going to munch through them and have a free-for-all, and it's going to be very funny, and it's going to be a meme election. And the Democrats are not particularly great at memeing. The DNC's still run by a boring Tom Perez. The House is still run by a very boring and ineffective Nancy Pelosi, who keeps trying to antagonize Trump and keeps losing over and over again. Trump's about to get his State of the Union. 4 days from now, Trump is going to grandstand to this nation on every issue under the sun, and it'll be the de facto beginning of his 2020 presidential bid. And he's going to tell the people, look, your taxes are lower. Tax times here, some of you have probably already filed. Tax times here, you've all saved money. Virtually none of you have paid more. And we've extended the tax cuts, thank you, House Republicans, which was a godsend for him because initially they wanted to taper it off after only a few years. That would have been a disaster. Manufacturing and jobs and all that stuff. Job numbers, by the way, just came out for the prior month, shattered all expectations. That's a good boost to his popularity. And by the way, he's already bottomed out at the moment anyway at his long-term high floor of approval, so he's going to be rising up any time now. And any major success could give him tip things in his balance, certainly. A major success in North Korea, apparently there will be a summit in Vietnam between Trump and Kim. That's planned for, I believe, in March, if I remember correctly. That'll be a big one if it's successful at all. You could see more pushes for tax cuts. He could end up getting the Democrats to buckle and build his wall. Any of a number of things. Or he could fail and then start losing more support. Cory Booker, I do not believe could beat Donald Trump. I also don't believe he'll be the nominee. Right now, out of the people who are running or likely to run, let's say Warren gets in, Biden gets in, Sanders gets in. The best bet is that Joe Biden becomes the nominee and then loses in the general election. The next possibility would be either Castro or Gillibrand manages to get to the top, fighting off all the leftists and absorbing more support. They finally get there. Sanders would be like maybe a third, and then basically there's no viability for anyone else. Gabbard won't be the nominee. I don't think it's going to be Cory Booker. I don't think it's going to be Tulsi Gabbard. And Kamala Harris, by the way, as an aside, has been embattled even from the progressive wing. I've seen people on the far left, they're like, oh, not anyone but Kamala, basically, because of her stance on sort of policing and some of the other things she said, and the fact that she basically allegedly fucked her way into politics. That could become a problem. That would be a big liability with certain Democratic voting blocks. And then she'd come out and say, you're sexist if you think that, but that's a little bit beyond just, hey, I'm doing what I want. He was a married man at the time, so a little bit different. I'm thinking some of those more religious Catholic voters that are Democrats might jump shark. That's just my opinion, but, my opinions are as good as anyone else's, and probably better than the Tom Prez's of the DNC. Cory Booker getting in will not electrify the race either. It's like Harris and Sanders just is rumored by someone close to him that's not even named to run, and all of a sudden everyone in the world's talking about it. Cory Booker gets in and makes a little ripple, basically, in a packed field. Because, the field's already so full that unless it's a big-name person jumping in, like a Sanders or a Biden, it's not going to make waves anymore the way that it did before. Gabbard got the best of everyone by being basically the first one to officiate the fact that, yes, she was running. That hasn't materialized, it seems, into excitement now a month later. You can expect at least a few more people probably to get in. I can't imagine that Booker is going to be the end-all be-all. Because if you look at the field, again, the big fish haven't gotten in yet. They're still swimming around and sniffing the waters and seeing if they want to go off the deep end. And those are Biden and Sanders. One of them, I believe, will end up getting in. Once one of them gets in, the other one becomes less likely, because seeing those two go at it on a debate stage, now that would be quite something. It would be quite funny. That's about all. Peace out.